Tuesday, December 20th, 2021. The time is 6 p.m. and this special meeting of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education is called to order. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll, and for anyone joining remotely, please state your location by city and county, please.
Bergeron.
Present.
Wester.
Present.
Terrell.
Present.
German.
Present, Wayne County Romulus.
Evans present. Kennard.
Present.
Piles.
Present. We have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin, I might need to hold this one. Before we begin the business of today's meeting, I would just like to remind everyone that this is a public meeting of a Board of Education. Public meetings are the only means by which a Board of Education can conduct its business. As a public meeting, everyone will have an opportunity to speak and address any concerns that they have with the Board of Education. But those comments must be made in their proper place. That is why boards have public comment time. We want to hear what everyone has to say, but the board cannot function if meetings are continually disrupted. As noted in our board bylaws, public behavior will not be allowed that is intemperate, abusive, defamatory, or discourteous, or that otherwise interferes with the orderly conduct and timely completion of the board meeting. Accordingly, this is a reminder that if individuals are disrupting the meeting or violating the board's bylaws, they will be warned to stop doing so. If the violations continue, we will seek to have that individual or individuals removed from the meeting. No one wants that step to occur, but the board must be allowed to function properly. First item on the agenda tonight is an action item for a Wayne Risa contract for payroll. Is there a motion?
Madam President, recommend motion. Move that the Board of Education approve the master service agreement for payroll services with Wayne Risa as entered into as of January the 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, with a fee for services at $3,800 a month. The rationale: please see the presented agreement with Wayne County Regional Educational Service, which is WRESA, for payroll services. Our payroll benefits specialist, Cameron Igley, has recently resigned. The budget implications as general fund, and in the board package are the exhibits, which is the agreement, the WRESA master service agreement, the payroll services through June 30th, 2024.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Kennard, supported by Evans. Floor is open for discussion. I will remind each board member this is a necessary position, and we do not currently have anyone to fulfill it. We are fortunate that Risa is able to and will take over this for the district. Mr. Bergeron.
Yes. Madam President, I think, and I don't know how to put this nicely, but I think part of this motion is what you four have been doing all along, pushing this district out of control of our local community. You're not doing a doggone thing right for this community, okay? And to have Risa come in and bail us out is ridiculous. We should have our own accounting department, we should have our own superintendent, and we should have our own people doing this. By farming this out to everybody doesn't help anybody. All it does is put us closer to going out of business, okay, and sending all of our children all over the place. So, Madam President, with all due respect, this ain't right.
Noted, Mr. Bergeron.
Madam President,
Ms. Wester.
why is this, I concur with Mr. Bergeron, but also looking at the contract, we're talking about till June 30th of 2024. Why?
Because Risa has to hire a staff to take this on, and they are incurring that expense. When I contacted each of you individually, I expressed that, and Mr. Bergeron, I hear you. But if we don't pay our employees, we're not gonna have a district come the beginning of the year. I let everybody know that Dr. Colbert had offered to speak to board members individually. If anyone called her, they had any questions, if they did not believe me and wanted to speak directly with her. But that is the reason for the contract.
That doesn't answer my question. The question is the length of the contract. I understand what the contract is for. The length of the contract is what I'm asking to 2024.
Yes, because they are hiring a staff. And if any additional information was needed on that, Dr. Colbert would have answered, or I would have contacted her and asked that question myself. But what the information I've been given, and I'll state it one more time, the reason for the length is because they are hiring somebody. So it is a 2-year contract, so that they can commit to doing that.
So what happens so we can't fill this position for 2 years according to this contract?
I don't know if it can be opened back up. I don't know that. I would have found it out had I have been asked that question. Or if I'm sorry, please do not yell out. Today,
Madam President,
yes, Ms. Sherman.
it does say that it can be terminated within 30 days.
Thank you, Ms. Sherman. What this Board of Education must decide today is, with our current situation, we are able to meet payroll through December 31st. Without an action item tonight to partnership with Risa or another entity, we will not be able to make payroll beginning 2022. That is the decision that the Board of Education must make tonight. Are there any other questions from board members? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, will you please call the vote?
Evetts, yes. Bergeron?
No.
Terrell?
No.
German?
Yes.
Wester?
No.
Kennard?
Yes.
Piles?
Yes. Motion carries. Romulus Community Schools will contract with Wayne Risa to take over our payroll duties. Next on the agenda, we have an action item for the Business Transition Services of Fryer Consulting. Is there a motion?
Move that the Board of Education approve Fryer Consulting Services, LLC, to provide business office transition services, less accounting, for a period of time from 6 to 9 months at a monthly upfront retainer of $30,000 a month, per the response of the district's RFP. Furthermore, the board authorizes the interim superintendent to work with Fryer Consulting Services and the district's attorneys to develop and then execute a contract with Fryer Consulting Services along with Jake Brower and Christopher Mumby. In the rationale, in November, the Board of Education approved a business office transition plan for an outside vendor. The RFP was posted on the district's website and published in the newspaper. Mike Dixon contacted 5 different firms that do that type of business. One firm did not formally respond to the RFP because of staff shortages and proximity. A second firm no longer does that type of work. A third firm at this time has not responded. A fourth firm dropped out after they found out we had a viable candidate. A fifth firm, Fryer Consulting Services, LLC, responded. Sean McNatt, Dan Scott, Nelson Henry, David Cooper, Bill Garland, Jemana Kadri, and Mike Dixon interviewed Shelby Fryer, and she would be a viable candidate. The proposal does not include day-to-day accounting support. Sandy Gutenschwager will work in accounting until her time is up with Michigan School Employees Retirement System. She's vital to the transition. Additional accounting support is necessary for that. We are recommending David Masaglia, temporary replacement for consultant Sandra Pollock, who would work part-time in accounting until the accounting position is filled. Without Masaglia's approval, the office will be significantly short of accounting support and the audit submission may be delayed. As needed, Mike Dixon will work 1.5 days a week into January to assist with the transition. Ms. Frere is proposing a team of 3 individuals, including a procurement specialist, to work the various issues with which Romulus Community Schools is confronted. Her proposal estimates each of the 3 employees working approximately 20 hours, including working remotely. She works on an upfront retainer of $30,000 a month, which equates to an average hourly rate of $125. Her contract could start immediately and would last for 6 to 9 months. We propose the contract begin the week of January 3rd, 2022. This item is being reconsidered after a failed board approval at our December 13, 21 board meeting. Budget implications, general fund, exhibits the RFP, and confidential resume for Shelby Frere.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Is there support?
Support, Kennard.
Moved by Evans, supported by Kennard. The floor is open for discussion. Mr. Bergeron?
Once again, Madam President, we're looking at another 30 grand here, 40 grand here. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know, if you're in a power struggle or Ms. Kennard is or Ms. Evans is, but this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous to spend this kind of money on people that we don't have loyal to this organization. And that's all you're doing. You're destroying this organization. Every bit of it.
Thank you, Mr. Bergeron. Are there any other board member comments or questions on this motion? Ms. Lester?
Yes, I remember reading that they would work 20 hours a week, right? Each one would be 20 hours, and they have the option to work remotely. How can we be assured that they're going to be doing our work? How can we be, if they're going to be working remotely, how can we be assured that we're going to be a priority?
To answer that, they will be working 20 hours each in different capacities. We will be assured that they are working because without them, our audit will not get completed. And until our audit is completed, we will not receive state aid. We have already had November, December, and January state aid will be withheld. Our goal is to get this audit completed in January to avoid having the February state aid withheld. So to answer your question, the audit will get done, the business office will get cleaned up, and there will be verifiable proof that they are working. Are there any other board member questions? Ms. German, do you have a hand up? I can't see the screen.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Terrell?
It says an upfront retainer of $30,000. And I feel is, upfront, $30,000 upfront. I have a problem with that. We were at this same juncture last year as a result of our previous finance director, where the audit had not been completed. And that was someone that had been with the district for a couple years. We have Mr. Dixon coming in 1.5 days a week. And I thought that he was going to facilitate getting us through our audit. This is not acceptable. It's $125 an hour for someone to work remotely, $30,000 a month upfront. It's unacceptable.
Any other board member comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, will you please call the vote?
Evans, yes. Terrell?
No.
German?
Yes.
Wester?
No.
Bergeron?
No.
Kennard?
Yes.
Piles?
Yes. Motion carries. Romulus Community Schools will contract with Fryer Consulting Services for business office support. Are you able to hear me now? Mike. Next on the agenda is an action item for consultant accounting support, the business office. David Masoglia, is there a motion?
Madam President, move that the Board of Education approve the consulting services agreement for services of David Masaglia as accounting support consultant in the business office at a rate of $125 an hour. The rationale, it is proposed that David Masaglia be contracted as a replacement for former business office consultant Sandra Pollack, previous position of RCS accountant Stephen Baker. It is proposed that this candidate would work for 10 days after the hire of an accountant. This item is being reconsidered after failed board approval at our December 13, 2021 board meeting. Budget implication is general fund. Exhibits consulting service agreement with David Masaglia and his resume document.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support, Kennard.
Moved by Evans, supported by Kennard. The floor is open for discussion. Are there any questions or comments?
Madam President, I do have a question.
Yes, Ms. German?
So it's $125 an hour for the one individual?
Yes.
And how many hours of work will this individual be working each day?
So this individual is going to be doing the accounting. I'm looking over the contract now. He will be here working. We have a lot of our accounting is not completed for the audit, and we had Sandy Pollock who was doing that, who was unable to continue. And we were going to post for the position, I believe it was posted, we didn't have any viable candidates. So this person will be working daily while we, is it daily, Mr. McNatt?
I'm looking at, yes.
Well, to get our accounting in order and while we search for a permanent accountant for the district. So is it an 8-hour day?
It'll be approximately 30 hours a week.
30 hours a week, Ms. German.
Madam President.
Ms. German, are you finished with your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Terrell?
We're paying $125 an hour when we had someone in that position that was committed to the district. Again, they're not being in the central office and resigning was a result of their behavior. Again, we are throwing money away. Replacing individuals who had vested interest, and because of their treatment, they're not here. And no one wants to come to be treated badly. The expectation that they're going to perform and complete the audit timely. We had someone in that position and that was willing to work with the district, but because of how the treatment that people have received is the reason that we're in this position right now. And we're tossing out money out the window. So.
I do want to make clear that this consulting services agreement is only until we hire an accountant, which will be posted, and this person will help with that transition. But this is not a long-term contract. It is the desire of this board and district to bring an in-house consultant, an in-house accountant, and not continue with a consultant. So that is where we are going. Ms. Wester?
So our interim is saying that it's gonna be 30 hours per week. That needs to be part of this, action item versus just saying a flat rate of $125 an hour. Because Mr. McNatt just said, possibly 30 hours, so it needs to be written down how many hours this person is going to be working. Because they can just, you're right, it's open season. I'm gonna work 40 hours this week, I'm gonna work 45 hours this week. We are throwing money out the window. The reason we're in this position is because of the actions of this board. Everyone that has resigned has stated in their resignation letters why they've left, because the board is not following and staying in their lane. They want to be the finance person. They want to be the HR director. They want to be the superintendent. When those positions were open, people should have resigned from the board and applied. We need to stay in our lane as the governance, overseeing, giving the direction and the ideas of what we want and letting them make those decisions. And then if it doesn't happen, then we take care of that during evaluation time. People aren't given the chance to do their job. What they went to school and got the pieces of paper for, yes, we pay people for their paper. They want to call it paper, but it's their degree. You graduate with a piece of paper. We graduate with a diploma. We're in the education business. Our kids come here, K to 12. They graduate with a diploma. They go to college and get another diploma so that they can get good, viable, paying jobs. We're not letting these people do what they went to school for. Let them do their jobs. We're throwing money out the window to so many people. We're going to pay a company $30,000 up front. That's why I said, what are we getting? Yes, we need it, but am I going to pay somebody to build my house, give them $250,000 up front, and maybe I get it done?
Okay, so I will remind the board that the motion on the floor is for a consulting services agreement for an accountant, not the other consultant. So, and the terms of this, Mr. McNatt stated that it'd be approximately 30 hours a week, but the terms of the agreement are the days of work will be on an as-needed basis, and this agreement may be terminated by either party with 5 business days' notice. We right now cannot let anybody do their job because there's no one here currently to do the job. That is the purpose. But that is where we are now. Right now, the motion, Ms. Wester, but right now today, this Board of Education needs to determine, are we going to bring somebody in to do accounting? Are there any other questions for board
Madam
members?
President,
Ms. Kennard.
to interim superintendent, you mentioned that it was approximately 30 hours per week for the person the job. Normally, the person who was in this position was 40 hours. This type of job requires the skills and the expertise and the quality of work that's going to be provided. So I was wondering why you are or thinking that it should be 30 hours difference from the 40. And also, the individual who was in the position before received a promotion and left the district for that. And so, when you're looking at accounting and finance, what's the difference between what's needed prior to what's needed now and where we're going to? Also, that if this person is going to be transitioning another individual into it, is it that right now we're going to start out with 30 and then probably escalate to 40, or what is it that was the determining factor for that?
So keep in mind, when I say it's 30 hours, that there are 3 people associated with Shelby's business, and also Sandy G is still here as well. So there are other people here to do some of the other work that also will be done by the county. Because keep in mind that not only do we have to work on the day-to-day operations, but we also have to do things to clean up the past as well.
Okay, thank you.
Ms.
Madam
Terrell?
President, so I'm not understanding. Is it 30 hours? Maybe 30 hours? What is it?
It's as needed, as stated in the contract. It's as needed. And if you refer to the resume that we have, this is also a highly skilled accountant, so I don't know, maybe he won't need as much time. I don't know, but the terms of the contract that we need to consider are his rate. The terms of the contract are on an as-needed basis. We know that it is desperately needed currently, and the contract can be terminated by either party with 5 days' notice.
So who determines how long they would come in? How is that, who makes that determination if it's as needed?
Well, this Board of Education, based on the financial reports we get from our auditor, and when we hire an accountant, which is the district's goal, we would have that in-house and he would no longer be needed.
So we're going to say this week we need someone to work 30 hours. This week we need someone to work 25 hours. This week we need someone to work 30 hours.
No, Mr. Rowe, because we don't have the knowledge to know how much is needed to work. The job has to get done, and the accountant will do the accounting work.
We're still just trying to get clarity on the number of hours that this individual is going to be working. I understand as needed. Like Ms. Terrell said, as needed could start off this week being 30, next week being 25, or this week being 45. Because Dixon came in here as needed. And he worked a whole lot prior to him going down to this 1.5 days. So trying to get the we want to be fiscally responsible. That's all I ever hear is being fiscally responsible. This is not being fiscally responsible. If he's going to work 30 hours, it'll be 30 hours. If we have a new person come in, that new person is going to work 40 hours. And he may only be with them 5 hours a day. The clarity needs to be in here of how many hours we're going to pay this person.
No. Okay, so if the board...
Madam President.
If the board would like updates, we can do that. Right now, we don't have the understanding of what all needs to be done. Ms. Kennard, go ahead.
Normally, in a situation like this, when you're dealing with, you really don't know until actually you dig and dive in. So are you saying that it's a minimum of 30 hours with the expectations as they get involved in it, that it may require more? And if it is, then the language to the motion should be approximately 30 hours with reconsideration with the administrator. Okay, who's ever, and usually when the person is in this position, they're reporting to the finance director, so whoever those individuals are. And then the administration has that responsibility in, divvying out and giving direction to work assignments. The board, we only suggest, but the activity in terms of its carrying out comes from the administrator, which would be the interim superintendent.
So would the board like to add language that it not exceed a certain number of hours? But the work needs to be done, not to exceed 40?
I would say minimum 30 hours, not to exceed a work hours of 40 hours. If any additional hours are needed, then it's approved by the administrator. Okay, and that would be the interim superintendent.
And we can also have updates sent to the board.
Yes.
President.
Mr. Bergeron.
I've had my hand up over here, and I was stomped over twice. So when I holler out, okay, I don't have patience to wait. With all due respect, I want to know who's running this district right now, you
Okay.
or the principal at the high school?
Mr. Bergeron, there's
I
a
wanna know
motion,
who- I know-
there's a
no, I
motion on
wanna
the
know
floor.
who's ultimately
Mr.
responsible.
Bergeron, Mr. Bergeron.
This is
There's a
totally-
motion
it's-
on the floor
It's
right now.
totally in reverence to what
we
you're
are
saying.
discussing
Who's
the
running this
accountant.
district? Who's calling this? Who?
Mr.
Are you?
McNatt. No, sir.
What,
But
you sound like you are?
The motion on the floor is
Yeah,
regarding an
don't
accounting
change-
agreement.
Don't go back to the motion. I'm
But-
talking about who's
we-
running
No, we
this.
stay on the motion. We don't go
Who's
back to the
running
motion,
this
we stay on the
organization?
motion.
If it's you, you're not qualified, Debbie.
Exactly, which is why
Exactly,
I'm
so
not.
let somebody else do
Okay,
it. Bring our
so,
superintendent
Are there any
back.
more questions regarding
Yeah.
the contract, the
I'm gonna
motion on the
keep
floor?
on busting in, you keep on doing that.
Okay,
to me.
do you have
hear
any,
me?
do you have any questions about the motion on the floor?
I got questions about you and how
Okay.
you're running this
So
organization.
do you have any questions about the
Because
motion on the
I
floor?
don't like the way you're blowing
Okay.
money.
So, are there any other
This is
questions?
my community. My community.
Seeing no other questions regarding the motion, Madam Secretary, will you call the vote?
Terrell,
No.
Evans, yes. German,
Yes.
Wester,
No.
Bergeron,
No.
Kennard. I'm sorry? Ms. Kennard? Piles?
Yes. Motion carries. The district will contract with David Mazzaglia for accounting support. Next on the agenda, we have an update from Mr. John Garrick with Clark Hill. Mr. Garrick, the floor is yours. No,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. Good evening. I earlier presented a short 4-page addendum to the Board of Education. On November 8th, we presented our investigation report to the Board of Education, identifying 7 areas of serious concern with regard to the district's business and financial practices. One being competitive bidding violations, where we found over $700,000 in purchases that were required to be bid per the state law that were not, in fact, bid according to state law, and also in violation of board policy. Also, failures to report federal deposit taxes, where we incurred fines in excess of $33,000. Credit card violations, where support for card purchases were not supplied. Golfing outings discrepancies, where we still have $8,000 outstanding. School loan revolving fund that missed deadline. Failure to allocate revenues to timely fashion to the appropriate fund. And CT purchases and inventory mismanagement. At that November 8th meeting, if you recall, there was some additional information that was provided at the meeting itself. We looked into that, and as a result of that, and along with some additional investigation, we found that there is an additional $390,000 in projects through the sinking fund that were not bid according to state law or in accord with board policy, making more than $1 million over this past fiscal year, in which case either board policy or the state law were not followed. Based upon that, we continue to support the business transition plan that the board is enacting today, and we also continue to support getting assistance from outside agencies as we proposed, in order to get assistance to make sure that this does not continue to occur. We get our financial house in order, and also to mitigate any consequences that might arise from our past failures. And that completes, and I've given the board a 4-page update, and that completes our update.
Thank you, Mr. Garrick. Do all board members have the Clark Hill update that Mr. Garrick distributed this evening? Is anybody missing it? Okay, Mr. Bergeron.
Yeah. With all due respect, you did all this audit, all this information back. Hey, did you talk to the superintendent at all? Did you talk to Ben?
No, we did not.
That's right, you didn't.
No.
How can you investigate somebody and not know what they're thinking, what they're doing? How can you do that? very, very broadly because you want to sting somebody so you can make as much money out of this district as they're giving to everybody else. That's ridiculous. You are ridiculous. Your report's ridiculous.
The state law and board policy
I don't hear what you said.
requires board action. So by reviewing the board minutes, the board resolutions, and other bid documents that the business office prepared, we're able to make these determinations. And frankly, the superintendent would not be in a position to offer any documentation that would refute that. So
Madam
that's what we
President,
did not.
I have a question.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely did.
Please, sir, please do not shout out. Ms. Terrell,
So you just indicated that the superintendent would not be able to answer this, but yet you're holding him responsible. I want to know, you have $8,000, this district has not to date been able to account for $8,000 in sales. How did you determine that there were $8,000 in sales? I know Dr. E came in here and gave each one of these board members items that were given away at the golf outing. He gave them to, it was a bag. There were T-shirts given out. There were things that were given. So how do you determine that $8,000 in sales were unaccounted for?
Well, that's exactly, the business office did an accounting of the golf outing, and there's $8,000 in inventory and cash that are not accounted for.
When you
Where
said the
that went,
business office, who are you speaking about?
talking about people in, Mike Dixon, along with Yumana.
No,
Sarah
no, no, no,
Gill,
no,
and your
no, no.
office.
let him finish.
No.
Let him finish.
People
Let-
in the, go ahead.
I'm sorry, who all gave
People
the
in the
account?
business office attempted, they're responsible for maintaining the district's books. They attempted to make an accounting of the golf outing, and they were unable to account for $8,000 in inventory or cash. Where that went, and we have not pursued that. You could spend a lot of time and money pursuing that. That may happen another time. We did not do that. All we're simply indicating.
So you're able to come to the conclusion that $8,000 is unaccounted for.
Correct.
But you did not pursue during the investigation to determine, how did you come with this number?
I said, you're the people and the people who collected money for the golf outing, people who were in charge of inventory, those people were approached, we had documentation, there was an accounting, and $8,000 was unaccounted for. Where
That
it
would
went,
be our
we
accounts
don't know.
payable and bookkeeper.
We're not saying somebody stole it, we're simply saying we don't know.
I was a part
We
of
don't
that.
know.
I helped account for
We
the
don't
golf outing money, and it was all there. So if something happened, maybe Mr. Dixon happened to jump in his pocket. I don't know.
Mr.
Our report is
Bergeron.
simply is $8,000 unaccounted for.
So my next question is, you've cited multiple violations, and again, you indicated that Dr. Edmondson would not be relevant to the investigation with these citations. Is it true that these practices have been in place for a very long time? Is it true that this board approved some of the spending at this board without doing the bids? And it was, when you talk about credit card policy violations, all of these things, is it true that these are things that were already in place?
Our investigation really began from July of 2020, and we can speak to that period of time where there was very serious violations of state law and board policy. What happened before then, I do not know.
Why
But
is
those
it that
are
it
problems
started?
those-
Why is it that it started in that time frame? Why not? Why are we just starting within that time frame? Because Dr. Edmondson was in place at that time frame?
The charge was to do an investigation into our business practices, which are the current business practices. We didn't see any point in going before July. The current business practices are seriously dysfunctional, and that's why Mr. Dixon and Clark Hill recommended outsourcing your business management, because it is that bad. $1 million and failing to follow a competitive bidding is a very serious problem. Failing to follow board policy is a serious problem.
So again, my issue with that is why did it start within the time, because it goes back. It goes back. These are not things that Dr. Edmondson is responsible for. And I find it questionable that we started in this time frame.
If somebody violated the law in 2019 or 2018, doesn't make it okay to violate the law in 2020 and 2021. We were asked to evaluate the current business practices, and we've done that with the help of Mr. Dixon, and we're, fortunately, the board is taking action to correct that.
So we had a qualified director of finance that was hired by the district, a permanent director of finance. These are practices that have been going on when we had a director in that position. And so now we're investigating someone, you're saying that we're not investigating him, but yet he's put out on paid leave. But we're targeting, and that's what it is. We target Dr. Edmondson. We target the practices that a qualified director of business put into place. Now, what you say about correcting them is absolutely correct, but I find it questionable that that is the only period that we looked at, that we have not addressed the fact that this was a practice that he came into. That is my true concern.
Okay. Well, the question is, who should be held accountable for these serious violations of state law and business practice? That is for the Board of Education to decide. Who should be?
I just stated that our qualified director of finance that held that position is the one that should be accountable.
That's the Board of Education decision as to who to hold accountable for this serious mismanagement, and that's the board's decision as to who to hold accountable for that.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard.
Yes, I have a question pertaining to, there were several items where there was failure to report federal tax. There was something with the school loan resolving deadline and the tax revenues to appropriate accounts. The correspondences that's sent, and I know my question would be, in your investigation and your review, who received those types of notifications? Was it the
Well, they would typically come to the business office or the superintendent. It varied. I don't have a copy here, but there would various. Superintendent typically would get notice of all those. Those are very, I'm not making payroll timely and paying fines. It's a very serious problem. That's going to get to the superintendent's desk and the director of finance's desk. Those people would have knowledge of those problems.
And in looking at, in terms of what you've just stated, I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, an experienced superintendent or an administrator would know the types of requirements and deadlines and scheduling of certain tasks over a certain period of a year. This is nothing that is done sporadic or shadowing or whatever. This is something that's routinely, this is something that's done yearly pertaining to when it comes to taxes and those types of invoices. And so I do know that under the SBA, Businesses of Administrators, there's a calendar. And in that calendar, it has different task things and points of when superintendents, not for this district, but all over the state of Michigan and national and whatever, this is where you should be. This is what should happen. My question is, I don't know if you are aware of that or no, but when you're looking at the professionalism and the qualifications of an experienced administrator, you would think that this is one of the tasks that they would be familiar with, knowing that they had to perform.
The district has had problems with the IRS since 2019. This is an ongoing problem that went into 2020 and 2021. Really, there's no excuse for it. And the central office administrators were aware of this, something should have been done, and it wasn't.
So when you did your investigation, did you go back to see if these things that are listed here, if it was adhered to in the previous year? So what was your comparison? That's what I'm asking.
No,
If there was a
it
comparison.
Some of the 33,000 in late fees, I think, occurred in the 2021, but there were tax problems going back to as early as 19. This was a recurring problem that the business office was aware of, but it was not addressed. It was not addressed. And you're still going to have more, you have more tax problems coming, we believe, because they're about 6 months behind. There's more problems likely to come to light. I'm sorry to say.
So in looking at your statement, we did hire a person in that position from the previous finance director who came to us under the recommendation of the superintendent, and those types of things. When you're walking into a position like that, it's like the first immediate need, okay, from all the experiences I'm aware of, is that you're looking for what should be handled, what's urgent, what's needed, what's on the calendar, and so on and so forth. And so we had someone who was experienced and recommended, okay? And I'm saying, are you saying if this information was provided, they should have been aware of this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Ms. Kennard, and to the rest, to Vice President Kennard and to the rest of the board, I encourage you to check previous board briefs. We were forwarded board briefs by the previous interim director of finance, referring to the letters from the IRS and trying to reconcile the payments with the 941s. So that was forwarded to the board at least in April, if not before, that there were problems, and those then continued through the summer months. So if we refer back to our board briefs, we'll see that. And right now, we want to get that settled and paid up and not continue to be delinquent and incur fees. But yes, it has been a problem, as Mr. Clark stated, since 2019, and it was identified and passed to us in board briefs under the previous interim finance director.
So, Madam President,
Yes.
he said 2019.
Yes.
I do know that Dr. Edmondson had expressed concerns about reports. I don't know exactly when these statements would have come in, but we did have issues with our mail delivery service because we're in a pandemic, in addition to some things that were done that would delay delivery of mail. We were in a pandemic, and our superintendent was questioning a lot of these practices and how they came into play. And then he was slapped with a harassment lawsuit because he was questioning. This is something that he was asking about. When we talk about the previous interim, he was asking about these things. So prior to the interim, he was asking about these things. And I think that needs to be noted. I think that it is the fact that there's an undertone directing that this is something that Dr. Edmonds should have been able to grasp. We did not support him in his role so that he could carry out, and then when he was asking, there were those that aided the hindrance of not being able to correct the actions that should have been corrected. So I'm not going to just let it go that an experienced superintendent should have been able to identify and say when a check was written, when a check wasn't written. Or the experienced superintendent asked questions, and that is what our superintendent did. Ask questions, push back on getting the answers to those questions, and then a lawsuit or harassment claim filed against him, which was proven to be have no substance in it. So I'm not gonna let that just be that he should have addressed it, because it's not accurate. It's not an accurate statement that he should have been a experienced superintendent. No.
Thank you.
It's not right, he's not here to defend himself either. You're talking behind his back.
Okay, sir, I've asked you to stop shouting out. Will you please refrain from shouting out and reserve your comments for public comment? The next time you yell out, you will be asked to leave the meeting. No, you may not. During public comment, sir, please sit down. Sir, sit down.
You should let the public speak before you take actions then. In all due respect to you.
Sir, that was 3. Next on the agenda is an action item for a resolution for referral to outside agencies. Is there a motion?
Item,
Mr. Garrick just gave his report. We are on E. Is there a
that was the
motion?
next,
Madam Secretary, recommended motion.
Okay. I move that the Board of Education adopt the presented resolution for referral to outside agencies. The resolution reads, whereas the board retained the services of the law firm of Clark Hill PLC to oversee an independent investigation into the district's business and financial practices, and on November 8, 2021, Clark Hill issued an investigation report identifying many areas of concern that reflect serious issues of mismanagement with the district's business and financial practices, including failure to follow competitive bidding requirements in state law and board policy, failures to appropriately make IRS payroll payments, and the failure to timely allocate property tax revenues to appropriate accounts. Whereas, given the significant violations of law that appear to have been routinely occurring in the district's business office, Clark Hill recommended in its report that in the interest of transparency and mitigating any consequences related thereto, as well as ensuring that the district will address all of the problems with its business and finance practices, the board consider a referral to and seek the assistance of outside governmental agencies, including the State Attorney General and the United States Department of Education. Whereas Clark Hill has indicated that since issuing its November 8th report, it has learned of additional problems with the district's business and financial practices, including that many projects financed by the district's sinking fund appear to not have been bid in accordance with state law and board policy, that the district has been failing increased testing currently being conducted by the district's auditors, indicating that many of the district's business records appear to be inaccurate, and additional problems with the IRS payments. Now therefore be it resolved, the interim superintendent is directed to share the Clark Hill investigation report with appropriate personnel from the State Attorney General's Office and the United States Department of Education, seeking what assistance they can provide in addressing and correcting the district's problematic business and financial practices, and to cooperate with such outside agencies and for such purposes. Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Pyle, supported by Evans. The floor is open for discussion. Mr. Bergeron?
You know, I really don't understand what you just read, because it was a bunch of gobbledygook. You know, you four are trying to take over the system, and I'm telling you what, you keep on this path and you are gonna bury it. And when you bury it, I'm gonna come after you and I'm gonna sue all four of you, because this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. You're putting a man on trial and you don't even let him answer? You don't let him even qualify to any answer? Nobody says anything to him? You got a lawyer there that's supposed to be all big and bad and everything. Why didn't he ask him anything? Because he doesn't have the guts to. Because he knows he's wrong. Absolutely wrong.
So, Mr.
And you already been through this one time. You had another superintendent fired.
Okay.
So between the two of you,
Mr.
you're gonna have,
Bergeron,
what?
Mr. Bergeron.
What?
There's a
No, you're not
motion-
gonna gavel me.
There is a motion
You
on
have-
the floor. You direct your
I-
comments through the board and not to individual board members. This is not a time
I'm
to
not, I'm
attack
just pointing.
Mr.
I'm just
Bergeron, the
pointing.
motion on the floor.
You know what, you sat there and talked to everybody whenever you wanted to. I'm
Mr.
gonna talk.
Bergeron,
You're
there's a
not gonna
motion-
filibuster me.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes,
there's a
Ms. Pyle.
motion on the
No,
floor.
no, I'm gonna talk what I wanna talk.
Bring in outside agencies.
No, I can't,
state and
I gotta
federal.
do it now because you have
That's
the
fine,
floor.
but you said you didn't understand, so I'm going to say it very simply. You don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust Dixon or Gary. This motion is to bring in the state attorney general's office
And you
and
know
the
what,
US
Debbie, all
Department
that
of
does is
Education,
destroy our
and-
community.
No, it gets us back
No,
on
it
track,
does
Mr.
not.
Bergeron.
All it does is just let us fix our own, Debbie. You don't go out and beg
Mr.
to
Bergeron,
everybody
we're
because,
not
oh, we're poor
fixing our
people out
own.
here.
This-
This is my community, by God.
Yes.
I've
and
been longer
this-
than every
this is
one of
how
you
we
up here in this
mitigate
community.
consequences.
You know what? And you're destroying it.
Mr. Bergeron, this is a way, Mr. Bergeron, please let me finish. This is a way. None of us here in this room or in this community want the district destroyed. This is the way to, Mr. Bergeron, this is how we mitigate the consequences of previous actions by saying, hey, come help us. And if there's nothing to help with, they're gonna say, you know what, that board president and the others, they're crazy. Everything's on track. I'm talking about the Attorney General and the US Department of Ed. They'll say, hey, the books are great. The business office is functioning wonderful.
You don't get it.
Mr. Bergeron, Mr. Bergeron, we are getting fees, okay.
Going back over here and sitting because I don't
Okay.
want to look at him while I'm talking to you.
Okay, that's fine. So, Mr. Bergeron, this is a good thing for our district. This is a good thing for our district.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, we call the vote, please.
Kennard? I'm sorry? Yes. Bergeron?
No.
Evans, yes. Wester?
No.
Terrell?
No.
German?
Yes.
Piles?
Yes. Motion, Mr. Bergeron, motion carries. The district will seek the assistance of outside agencies.
We can't have a 4-2.
Next on the agenda is an action item for urban leadership specialist contract for the high school. Is there a motion?
Madam President, move that the Board of Education approve the proposal for services for the Romulus High School and Urban Leadership Specialists for a period of December 1, 2021 through December 1, 2022 at a cost of $55,000. The rationale: Romulus High School has been utilizing the services of urban leadership specialists for years. Please see the proposed services for additional details. This item is being reconsidered after a failed board approval at our December 13, 2021 board meeting. Information from vendor website is www.urban-leadership.com. The budget implication is 31A monies. The exhibits are the high school proposed services.
Is there support? The floor is open for discussion. I would like to remind the board that we have had urban leadership specialists in the district at the high school under 5 superintendents or interim or acting superintendents. Each of them has wanted them here. We've had numerous building principals speak so highly of this program, and most importantly, our teachers and our students have seen the value in this. So the floor is open for discussion. Any concerns, I encourage board members to ask them now so we can clear them up. This is a very good program for our students and a much-needed program for our students.
Madam President, may I please?
Yes, Mr. Rowe.
Okay. I have absolutely no confidence in anything that is being presented. I do, however, support our community. I support our teachers. I support our students in their ability to receive the best. This particular item, we received an email from a teacher within the district imploring that we consider this program because of the benefits. So I just wanted to make sure that it's understood that my vote is not based on anything that you say. It's not based on anything that the superintendent interim superintendent states, or the other 3 board members state. My vote will be based on what has been said to me through email, what has been said to each one of us through email from our staff that are interacting with our students.
Ms. Terrell?
Madam
I'm sorry,
President,
Ms.
Madam
Kennard.
President, this was on the agenda in our last meeting, and I voted yes for it then, and I'm going to vote, how I vote for it again is going to be based on the same permissions that I did then, and that was because it was a good thing for our students. It was a success, and students have benefited from it who has attended our district and have gone on. And so in knowing that, my vote is based on the facts that was presented then, and it's going to be based on the facts that is presented before us now. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions or discussion, Madam Secretary, will you please call the vote?
Bergeron,
No.
Evans, yes. Terrell,
Yes.
Kennard, German,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
Lester,
My vote is yes, because this is for the students. This is
Motion
what our teacher
carries.
said.
We will contract with Urban Leadership Specialists for the Romulus High School.
Wow.
Next on the agenda, no, because during the vote, it's supposed to be yes or no without explanation, and that's in Robert's rules, Ms. Wester.
We've
So
done
next on-
explanations
next
when
on
we've
the
done
agenda-
no in the
But it is a
past.
violation. Next on the agenda is an action item for Urban Leadership Specialist contract at the Romulus Middle School. Is there a motion?
Madam President, recommended motion. Move that the Board of Education approve the proposal for services for Romulus Middle School and Urban Leadership Specialists for a period of December 1, 2021 to June 15, 2022 at a cost of $45,000. The rationale. Please see the presented proposed services for additional details. The information is in the packet with the boards. The budget implications is 31A monies. The exhibits are in the board packages.
Thank you. Moved by Kennard. Is there support?
support.
Supported by Evans.
Support.
Floor is open for discussion.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So at the high school, it's for 1 year, December 1st through December 1st for $55,000. This one is December 1st through June 15th for $45,000. What is the significant change in cost?
Has to do with the days, and the middle school one is only going through the end of the school year due to the fact that it's to assist the interim middle school principal.
Mr. McNabb, I have a question on this. So if this motion is approved, then I know currently, we have our director of the virtual instruction at the middle school now, so will he then come back over to doing the virtual? Yes. Okay. Again, this is an excellent program for the high school, and it will benefit our middle school students to be able to have this resource at that level. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, will you please call the vote?
Evans, yes. Terrell,
I do have a question, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Chairman.
Yes, so I see that there is a program for the middle school and high school. Will there be a program coming for the elementary? I remember receiving an email from Ms. Dow from Hill Creek that said that there is a need for additional support with social emotional learning and well-being.
Right, at this time, urban leadership is just going to be in the high school and middle school. I don't know if they will be taking on our elementaries, or if the elementary administrators and curriculum director had other options for that. But at this time, this motion is just for the middle school.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna
Mr.
start.
Hanson, please don't shout out.
Okay, I'm gonna start the vote again.
Go ahead, Ms.
Evetts, yes. Terrell? I'm sorry?
Yes.
Thank you. Bergeron?
No.
German?
Yes.
Piles?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes, for our children.
Kennard?
Motion carries. Romulus Community Schools will contract with urban leadership specialists for the Romulus Middle School. Next on the agenda is an action item for the job posting for district accountant that has been updated. Is there a motion?
Madam President, move that the Board of Education approve the updated posting for a vacancy of district accountant, granting permission to publish the posting. The rationale, the board, on November 8th, approving a posting for the position of district accountant, we are now seeking board approval to post this position at an updated salary range. The presented job posting/vacancy announcement is submitted for board consideration. This item is being considered or reconsidered after a failed board approval at our December 13, 2021 board meeting. In budget implications, general fund, the exhibits is the job posting vacancy announcement.
Is there support?
Support, Kennard.
Moved by Evetts, supported by Kennard. The floor is open for discussion. Do any board members have questions?
What was the previous salary range?
The previous salary that was posted, or the previous salary from the employee in that position?
Both.
I believe the salary for when the employee who last held the position was $56,000, I believe. We also realized that we have a need for an accountant, like somebody who is an accountant and has these qualifications. So that is why the salary has been increased, but it is aligned with what this position pays throughout the state, and specifically within districts in southeastern
Okay,
Michigan.
can I get, you still didn't give me what the last posting range was. You know what it was? Approximate?
I know what the previous employee is making. I don't know. That would have been in a previous board packet for reference.
Madam President, in the job description, has there been any changes in terms of the responsibilities or qualifications that would warrant the salary? I guess that would go to the interim superintendent, who would know more details about that, since this was from you must have ran this through the director of human resources. Usually, I know we were having some salary inadequacies in terms of market, and where would this place the range, and how will we be close to identifying what that, because I know there were some increases in salaries pertaining to this at the board table, and so can you give us some information on this?
So to answer one of the questions that you gave is, was there any changes to the qualifications and the responsibilities? And the answer is no. Regarding the changes of the salary range, it was changed to meet as President Pyle said, the Southeast Michigan average rate, and we were looking to to obtain an experienced accountant. And that's why the salary range is what it is. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Madam President, I just want to remind this board that we had an HR director that came to us and said that it was necessary to adjust the salaries in order to attract people. This was someone who was experienced, who came to us and indicated that we needed to adjust the salaries, and everything that she brought to us was shot down. I find it interesting that we're now understanding that after everyone has left the district, and we're hoping to be able to attract new people, and that they're going to stay.
So, Ms. Terrell, in response to your comment, the salaries that were recommended by the previous HR director were executed on July 1st. The board did not dispute those salary increases. They were accepted as she recommended. What the board did dispute and vote down was the creation of new positions that the board had not approved with salaries that were being sustained through ESSER funds. So the board voted no to positions created without board approval and that had salaries that were long-term salaries with short-term funding. But as far as every salary that HR director recommended, this board approved, and those contracts were executed on July 1st.
Who made the determination to raise this salary?
Mr. Hanson, don't shout out again, please.
So the finance department, the HR department, and myself sat and we discussed this.
And Ms. Wester, to answer your question, this job posting was previously approved November 8th in open meeting, so if you reference that board packet, it will have that amount. I've pulled it up, I have not come to that yet, but that is where you will be able to find, the salary that was posted after we approved it on November 8th. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
German,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Evans, yes. Wester,
No.
Terrell,
No.
Bergeron,
No.
Piles,
Yes. Motion carries. The district will post for the position of district accountant. Next on the agenda, we have an action item for an extra duty stipend for human resources duties. Ms. Brodden, is there a motion?
Ms. President, I move that the Board of Education approve a stipend for Ms. Angela Brodden for Human Resources additional duties for the month of October 21. Duties starting after the departure of Ms. Margaret Hazlett. Total stipend amount will be $1,250. The rationale is Ms. Brodden took on duties of Human Resources after the departure of the previous Director of Human Resources. This stipend is recommended in the amount of $1,250 for work performed during the month of October 2021. This item is being reconsidered after a failed board approval on December 13th. This item was also included in our November 22nd board agenda. Board implications as general fund.
Is there support?
Support.
Support.
Moved by Wester, supported by Terrell. The floor is open for discussion. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary?
Bergeron,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
German,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
Evans, yes.
Motion carries. The stipend will be paid to Ms. Broaden in the amount of $1,250 for extra duties in human resource. Next on the agenda is an action item to post position vacancies for security ambassadors, 5 positions, K through 12. Is there a motion?
Madam President.
Okay, Mr. Hanson, that's the 3rd time you've yelled out.
Okay, Madam President, recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approve the posting for 5 security ambassador vacancies to be assigned to various buildings by interim superintendent Sean McNatt. The rationale, the presented job posting vacancy announcement is submitted for board consideration. We are seeking board approval to post these positions. Currently, elementary buildings have no security ambassador positions on staff. The budget implications is the title monies and ESSER. Exhibits in the board package is the job posting, the vacant announcement, and the security ambassador as of 12/17/21.
Is there support?
Support.
Floor is open for discussion.
Madam President, we say title, is it Title One? What title is it coming from? Thank you.
Madam President,
Ms. Terrell?
I think Mr. Hanson had a valid question. This, you and I had a discussion about these armed security guards and the fact that it was brought up that armed security should not be in any school, yet we still have armed security guards. Within our conversation, you said that our interim superintendent was the one that approved armed security guards. Is that going to be a part of this contract, armed security?
Ms. Terrell, these are security ambassadors. We have never had armed security in any of our buildings, and that is when they were security guards. These are security ambassadors. So the answer to your question is no, they will not be armed in our buildings.
And they should be here, armed.
Okay, so for the purpose of the motion on the floor, those security ambassadors being hired will not be armed.
I will not be silenced. I won't.
Ms. Terrell, I'm not silencing you.
These security guards
Okay,
that are
but Ms. Terrell,
here,
there will be a time for that, but this is, all discussion now needs to be germane to the motion on the
they
floor.
have guns
Ms. Terrell,
that
you
harm.
know parliamentary procedure. You know that the discussion must be germane to the motion on the floor.
I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
Okay, but
You will not
it has
direct
to be,
me.
it has to be relative to the motion.
It is relative. It's about
not.
security.
Yes,
It's about security that is
it's
here
post
with
position.
arms on
Ms.
their
Terrell,
hip,
there is a
and they
motion
shouldn't be
to
here.
post 5 positions for security ambassadors.
I'm not stupid.
Maybe
Ms.
we should
Wester.
just make the clarity that the ambassadors will be hired through EDGE staff. So these will be EDGE staff, not through the security company.
According to our president, it was asked whether or not we need armed or if we don't need armed, and Mr. McNatt decided that
But
we
Ms.
need
Terrell,
armed.
do not send that information out regarding this
Don't
motion
tell
and
me
let the
what to
public
do.
think that we're gonna put armed guard.
Well, I'm asking. I'm
The answer is
asking.
no.
I'm
The
asking.
answer is no.
I'm asking.
That's why I did the
The answer
clarity.
is no.
That's why I tried to make,
Ms. Kennard, state your point.
that's why I tried to make clarity.
Ms. Kennard, state your point.
Point of order, President had the floor.
Point well taken. There's no more questions relevant to the motion on the floor. Ms. Evans, will you please call the vote?
Evans, yes. Wester,
I can speak now?
You can
it's a
vote
vote,
now.
yes or no?
Okay.
Our children's safety through EDGE staff, yes.
Ms. German,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Terrell,
Our children's safety, yes, unarmed.
Bergeron. Yes. Piles,
Yes. Motion carries. We will post for 5 positions for security ambassadors in our buildings. Next on the agenda, the district, sir. We represent the district. Okay, next on the agenda is an action item to solicit bids for security services. Is there a motion?
Madam President, recommended motion, move that the Board of Education authorize the release of an RFP for security services. It is in the best practice to bid out and an internal policy. A bid prototype was provided by Turn and released on June 2020, but awarding of contract was tabled due to 100% remote learning. The budget implications is none. The exhibits is no attached, but it will be available.
Is there support?
support.
Moved by Kennard, supported by Evans. The floor is open. This motion, for those who were unable to hear, is to approve or to solicit bids for security services. It is not to hire, it is to simply release an RFP for security services. Are there any questions?
Again, about the armed security services, will a solicitation indicate that they are not to be armed?
Yes. Seeing there are no more comments or questions, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Kennard,
Yes.
Lester,
No.
German,
Yes.
Terrell. I'm sorry.
No.
Evans, yes. Bergeron.
No.
Piles.
Yes. Motion carries. The district will release for RFP security services. Next on the agenda is a personnel action item. Have all board members had time to review the information in the packet? Is there any board member that has not had time to review it? Okay, I will assume that everybody has. Is there a motion on the floor?
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education votes to allow the individual to regularly and continuously work under the contract in the school despite previous felony convictions.
Moved by Wester. Is there support? Supported by Kennard. Moved by Wester, supported by Kennard? Yes, I'm stating that. Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Lester,
Yes.
German,
Yes.
Kennard,
No.
Evans, no. Terrell,
Yes.
Bergeron.
Yes.
Piles.
Yes. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is an action item to move into closed session. Is there a motion? I move that the Board of Education enter into closed session pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act to consider attorney-client privileged information exempt from disclosure under state law. Is there support?
Support, Kennard.
Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary, will you please call the vote?
Evans, yes. Bergeron.
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
German,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles.
Yes. We are in closed session at 7:25 PM. Ms. German, if you will exit out of this meeting.
Yep.
Motion to reconvene in open session, is there support?
Support.
Moved by Pyle, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary?
Lester,
Yes.
Evans, yes. German,
Yes.
Bergeron,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles.
Yes. We're back in open session at 8:32 PM. The next item on the agenda is an action item to proceed with hearing on termination. Is there a motion?
Madam President, recommended motion move that the Board of Education proceed with the hearing for termination of the superintendent on or before December 27, 2021, as set forth in the attached resolution. The resolution, charges are included in the resolution, budget implications is general fund.
Go towards you, and restart that, please.
Okay. All right. Recommended motion. Move that the Board of Education proceed with the hearing of termination of the superintendent on or before December the 27th, 2021, as set forth in the attached resolution. The rationale, charges are included in the resolution. Budget implications is general fund. Exhibits is in the board packet, which is the resolution.
Moved by Kennard, is there support?
Support.
Supported by Evans. Floor is open.
Madam President, regarding the date,
Yes, so the motion is that the board would proceed with the hearing on or before December 27th, 2021. So is there a motion to amend the agenda? I'm sorry, to amend the motion to set the date? Or does the board just wish to have that set? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Seeing no discussion, Madam Secretary, recall the vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion. So I think it's in the wrong order. I mean, are we going to have a hearing? So why would we set a date? That shouldn't be a part of the motion.
So, okay, so the motion is move that the Board of Education proceed with the hearing for termination of the superintendent on or before December 27th, 2021, as set forth in the attached resolution. So if the board would like to amend that and put a specific date, if that motion passes, we have it. If not, we vote on the motion as is, and the date will be set not at this table.
Couldn't we wait to see if it passed first before you put a date in there?
No, okay, so,
I mean, if you want, if we need to have a date in there, I'm going to say January the 10th of 2022.
that's a regular board meeting.
The 3rd. Right.
All meetings are open. I said it's a regular meeting.
Right.
So, okay,
So it would be, since we have to have a date,
is there,
so we would change the date to January the 10th, 2022.
okay, so we would need a motion to amend the motion, because the motion states it would be held on December 27th, 2021, or before.
I'm going to do an amended motion. So rescind.
No, I don't need to rescind. We can amend it with the date.
I move that the Board of Education proceed with the hearing for termination of the superintendent on January the 10th, 2022, as set forth in the attached resolution.
Support.
Moved by Wester, supported by Terrell. And the motion is that the Board of Education move forward with a hearing for termination and that it be held on January 10th, 2022. Madam Secretary, will you call the vote, please?
May I
Yes.
say something on this? So I guess the question is, I know you said on January 10th. I just wonder if we would do on or before. So that
Okay,
way,
hang on.
so that way we have the opportunity to reach out to Dr. Edmondson's attorney, and we get to have discussions about whether he's available on that date or not. So that way we can ensure that the date is one that also works for Dr. Edmondson and his counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Schindler. Ms. Wester, it's your motion.
I move that the Board of Education proceed with the hearing for termination of the superintendent on or before or after January the 10th. Before January 10th, 2022.
Support.
So this is a vote to amend the motion, okay? Bergeron,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Wester. Wester.
No.
Kennard,
You don't vote yet. No.
Piles,
No.
German,
No.
Evans, no.
The amended motion fails, so now the board will need to vote on the original motion that was moved by Wester and moved by Kennard and supported by Evans. And that motion is that the Board of Education proceed with the hearing for termination of the superintendent on or before December 27th, 2021, as set forth in the attached resolution. Madam Secretary.
Wester,
No.
Evans, yes. German,
Yes.
Bergeron,
No.
Terrell,
No.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles.
Yes. Motion carries. A hearing for termination of the superintendent will be held on or before December 27th, 2021. The next action item is to return the superintendent from paid administrative leave. Do we waive? No, because we had that option. We were given advice of counsel. We have that option. It is on the agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam President, move that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to return from paid administrative leave effective immediately. The rationale, the superintendent has been on paid leave since September the 27th, 2021. Budget applications, there's none, and exhibits is none.
Is there support? Moved by Kennard, supported by Bergeron. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary.
Bergeron. Wester.
Yes.
German.
No.
Evans, no. Terrell.
Yes.
Kennard.
No.
Piles.
No. The motion to return the superintendent from paid administrative leave fails. We are now at Who's
Point of
yelling
order.
out? Please do not yell out. We are at the public comment portion of the agenda, and you will have your time. Guidelines for public participation at board meetings. As stated in Board Policy 1002, meetings of the Board of Education, the board will establish guidelines concerning public participation at board meetings. The guidelines will include, but not be limited to, limiting the time an individual may address the board to 3 minutes, requiring individuals who wish to address the board to identify themselves, their address, and any organization they may represent, advising the public that generally the board and individual board members will not directly respond to comments or questions that arise during the public participation portion of the meeting, requiring individuals who wish to address the board to direct their comments to the entire board and not to individual board members, the superintendent, or school district employees or members of the audience, prohibiting behavior that is intemperate, abusive, defamatory, or discourteous, or that otherwise interferes with the orderly conduct and timely completion of the board meeting, excluding from the meeting an individual who engages in conduct that constitutes a breach of the peace. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. While it is not our intent to stifle public comment, speakers should be aware that if your statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, you may be held legally responsible. If you are unsure of the legal ramifications of what you are about to say, we urge you to consult first with your legal advisor. If there is anybody who would like to speak during the public comment section of the agenda, and you have not yet turned in a form to Secretary Evans, please do so.
Ms. Zoltowski?
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kylene Zoltowski, and I've been a teacher here at Romulus for the last 18 years. I'm sorry that I'm getting emotional. I have spent my entire career here for my students. But today I came to talk to you about community. Community, the very word that is oddly enough in the name of this district. However, I feel that the meaning has been lost or forgotten. Can you at least listen to me, Debbie?
I am listening. I'm actually going to take notes.
Some of us need to be reminded of what community really means. Community is a feeling of fellowship, one that works together to achieve common goals. In a community, you look out for your neighbors and lend a helping hand when you can. A community has pride in where they are from. To me, a community has a traditional, old school, small town feel, where you might not agree with everyone, but you show respect and still try to work toward what is good for the common goal. Romulus once was the definition of community. In my mind and in the eyes of many others, football games were packed full of students, parents, and other community members cheering on the boys, win or lose. The downtown streets were lined with people to watch marching band and all the floats pass by during the light parade. The Pumpkin Fest was attended by community members from town and all the way to the countryside of Romulus. However, those days went away for a long time, and the town that once reminded me of the small town I grew up in was lost. Then Dr. E came and began to make changes that were not only taking the district back to a world of community and family, but also bringing the community back together to help raise the village of kids that belong here. It takes all of us to work together to make this home, family, and community work. If you weren't willing to listen to the majority, then what is the point? Why are we here? Why do we talk week in and week out about the same things and nothing gets resolved because a few members have their own agenda and only listen to their own beliefs? Hundreds of people have stepped in here and spoke, and their words mean nothing. I am here to beg the community to continue this journey of finding our way back home and making the district and town a great place to raise a family. To ask the board members to listen to your stakeholders and do what is right and best for our children. We need to put our own personal feelings aside and find a way to come back together as a community, a place where everyone belongs. These last few months, we have missed the leadership of Dr. E and his vision for making Romulus a home to our kids again. We need our leader back to move forward in this district.
Thank you.
Rita Hampton.
Remember the first day I came? Mendacity. That's what we have here. Now it's a contentious spirit. They're determined. I don't know what the end game is or what's been promised. I don't look that way because I don't like to look at liars. And I don't answer liar emails, and I don't answer their posts on Facebook. It started February 22nd when Debbie asked the liar to cover up the audit. We can address this in a closed meeting, she says, under personal issues. That's when it started. Dr. Ben said, don't do this. It's a dangerous thing to do. Do not omit or deceive. We will create more problems. That's being a responsible. That's the kind of superintendent we need. In an email dated 2020 to the board, Dr. Ben, he says, I have gathered documents that support my assertion. We have a problem in the business department, finance. Everyone in that meeting, everybody here said it. He mentioned it when he got here. Too many keys out, he said. Now, I'm going to go back to the keys. Too many keys out. People in and out of the district have keys to the building. In light of COVID, we got to secure the building. Dr. Ben provided lunches to the maintenance workers to thank them for their diligence. I'm out of order, but follow me. Dr. Ben asked you in a board brief, he asked the board to directly come to him with criticism from the community. Do not encourage that behavior because it may compromise my opinion, my relationship with you and with the community. But it continued underhand. Then was all she wrote. That was all she wrote. It was on like Donkey Kong. See, Dr. Ben got sick and had to go away. Once he went away, that was it. McNabb came in, who has a questionable background educationally, asked to leave 2 school districts, but we bring him in. That's what the community, we deserve broken down ex-superintendents or whatever they did. Dr. Ben gave him a solid and recommended him to take the place. Boy, would you want a friend like that? Both men, Mr. Dixon asked for a fob. Remember I said I'd come back to that? Dr. Ben said, I got here returned August 2nd. You don't get a key. I don't know who you are. Somebody came up here and said, I didn't know who you were either. How dare you deny Mr. Dixon that's been fired 6 times? Broken down people. That's what you're good at. I'm not finished.
No, your time is up, Ms. Hampton.
I will continue on, and I'll keep on talking
Ms.
as I walk
Hampton,
back.
Ms. Hampton, you could not keep speaking.
Do not write emails to one.
Okay, Ms. Hampton, that's twice. If you do not stop speaking, you will be removed. That's 3. Ms. Hampton, please leave the building. Ms. Hampton, you are continuing to speak out. You are now trespassing. Please leave the building. Who's up next, Ms. Evans? Okay, Ms. Hampton has violated the bylaws and needs to be removed. We have 3 minutes for public speaking, and she's been asked to stop. Ms. Hampton, you need to leave the meeting.
Make sure they know which one's a taser, which one's a gun.
Point of order.
Yeah, but they can't be heard in this. Who's up next, Ms. Evans?
Ms. Rice? Jessica Rice?
Oh, Race?
Race, I'm sorry.
Oh,
If it's all right, I'd like to wait until this is resolved so everybody can hear me.
yep.
I do too.
Ms. Race?
Good evening. My name is Jessica Race. I am the middle school and high school band
Ms.
director.
Race has the floor.
But currently I'm speaking as an REA member, specifically the high school building rep. I just want to address one thing first, in that you said you have no intent to stifle public comment. However, originally we used to be allowed to speak on action items before they were voted upon, and I know myself and several other people in the audience had a few things to say before you guys went into closed session for consideration. I also know there are several people online who have things that they'd like to say right now, and they do feel stifled, so I wanted to point that out. The other thing that I'd like to say is that the REA was accused on social media of spreading misinformation earlier this week. I pride myself on my integrity and on my honesty. I call things like I see them. I really am out for the kids in my program, and I find this incredibly insulting. And the reason I find this incredibly insulting is because what I said was going to happen is exactly what happened here this evening. Termination was on the agenda. Termination was voted upon, and December 27th was the date proposed, which is the date that I knew this was going to be proposed. So to call us liars and to say that we were fabricating a story when this is what was on the agenda and it played out the exact same way is ridiculous. Now, I'm sorry, I'm a little choked up, but I got choked up when I saw Mr. Steve Baker walk in the room, because I know that Steve would not have walked away from this district unless there was a very good reason to do so. Because if it wasn't for Steve, I would have no idea how to do the accounting part of my own job. So, sorry, I'm a little shaken up right now. However, I do want to say that the lawyer stood up here and said that you, the board, get to decide who is responsible and who you are going to hold responsible. And it's obvious that you already had a scapegoat and knew who you planned to hold responsible. But I just want to bring up a couple of things. There have been numerous facts that have been brought up in this investigation. I am not an unintelligent person. I graduated from Romulus Community Schools with a 4.12. I have read every single report, and I don't see anything that specifically implicates Dr. Edmondson. What I do see in those reports, and I made a list of it here, is IRS payments that were not made in 2019 by a finance director with the initials AR. What I see are property tax allocations that were not taken care of by a finance director with the initials AR. I see our retirement savings deposits that were not made by that same individual, our HSA contributions that were not made by that same individual. And we met with Dr. Edmondson, and he promised to take care of it, and he tried, and he had his hands tied. And I am so disgusted this evening that I don't even have the words to properly express how I am currently feeling. You have chosen who you want to hold responsible, and the person who should be held responsible is not in this room this evening and is no longer employed by this district. So I beg of you, before you hold this termination hearing, that you consider all of these things, because I know that he was here to help us and he intended to help us. But I also know, as somebody who had to rebuild a band program, that it takes 5 years to mess up 1 year of errors, and we had a lot more than 1 year. Thank you.
Doris Green. I'm sorry, that is not permissible under the, it is not permissible. It is not permissible.
No.
That is
No, you
not
may not
permissible.
transfer your time.
Oh my God.
You cannot
Okay,
transfer your
Ms.
time.
Hampton, stop speaking.
I will continue.
Ms. Hampton, please stop speaking.
And you cannot take her information.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. It's on the original form. Go ahead, but yeah, go ahead. Though,
When does my
I am
time
not
start?
Simona.
Can I have-
Those have
When does my
always
time
been the
start?
rules.
Excuse me, when does my time start?
Right now.
Do not write emails to one or two board members, address all board members. We all can be on the same page and all can be informed. Mr. Bergeron has complained about that in many board meetings. Dr. Ben even complained that he's getting emails to address within certain board members. He states emails and information is to be shared equally. Dr. Ben further complains that employees, teachers who are told to report to certain board members. Where does this happen? Contractual employees report to the school board. He's asking for all board minutes. He wants to review the contracts, Mr. Dixon and Mr. Guttensweiger. He was not seeing them. He reminds the Piles that in Ebbets, all board policy according to the Michigan law has to be made an open meeting. That is September 20th on the September 27th
Mr. Hanson, please
meeting.
stop talking. That's about the fourth time.
He is placed on, please stop interrupting me. He's
No,
placed on
Mr. Green,
I
no.
am speaking, Ms.
Point
Piles.
of order, Mr. Hanson, stop speaking out.
Okay, I'll let you talk and I'll let you decide. We'll see you in court.
Lisa Leapart.
My name is Lisa Leapart. I am a parent. I am a property owner. I am a member of Romulus community. I have watched this go on for years with this district. I have 2 children that are in this district, and I am really sad to say that I made the decision to make my son come to Romulus High School. I came before this board a couple years ago when we were trying to get rid of another superintendent for good reason. And there were some members who were running for elections at that time, to which we supported as a community to come onto this board and to make the change that they promised us that they were going to make. However, from what I see and from what I've heard, you've done the exact same thing as those previous board members that you promised to do better on. Now, I'm not going to get into everything that because everybody else has already spoken on that. But what I am going to discuss is the fact that no one in this room knows parliamentary procedure. No one in this room knows the proper way to entertain a motion, the proper way to rescind a motion, and the proper way to amend a motion. I suggest you look up Robert's Rules of Order. If you want to continue the way that you're going, this district is going to be broke financially, spiritually, and emotionally. And I'm sorry that I'm boring the shit out of you because I'm talking. And that's the exact same thing, the same issue we had with the previous superintendent. And everybody said it was such a bad thing. They should pay attention, they should pay attention. But the only person up there who should be writing is your secretary. Because if she can't keep the minutes and get them to you right, then you need to remove her. Now, your own bylaws state a number of different things. Number 1, it states that let me go back to parliamentary procedure. It is the accepted rules, ethics, and customs governing meetings of an assembly and an organization. The duties of a chair. The duties of the chair are not about procedure, running the meeting well. The duties do not include lecturing or criticizing group members to make them vote the way that you want, trying to convince people that you are right and they are wrong, or exercising your leadership position to determine the outcome of a vote. And at any time when a board member does not agree with what is being placed on the floor, they are being silenced. And I'll be back at the next meeting to continue this conversation.
Eva Webb.
I'm sorry, I just heard Robert's Rules of Order, and that's what I was going to speak on, and she spoke eloquently
to that. Please take heed.
Chuck Lindenmuth.
My name is Chuck Lindemuth. I graduated from this high school in 1977. I'm 64 years old. 60 of my 64 years I've been here in this community. Okay? I've also been president of ASME for Wayne County Roads. On the executive board for a total of about 15 years. I was president for 4. I've sat in meetings with Warren Evans. I've sat in negotiating contracts, Robert's Rules of Orders. How you guys run this meeting is a total disgrace. Somebody, which we're not supposed to mention names, you are a dictator. You don't let people talk. You don't let anybody talk on this board. You dictate what you want them to do and say. Okay? Now, how many lawsuits have you got us into right now with employees in this city, in this district? Do you think we can survive these lawsuits? And now you're going to go into another one? Really? Thank you.
Thank you.
Tanya Gregory.
Good evening, Tanya Gregory, 30418 Dorset Street, Romulus resident. Can I take this off? I'd like to address the community. Since all the comments directed to the board, president, vice president, secretary has fallen on deaf ears over the last 3 months. Okay. I want the community to know that the information being presented over the last 3 months has had just enough truth to not be called a lie. The information is skewed to meet the majority of the board's personal agenda. They have been so focused on trying to find something against Dr. Edmondson that they've completely ignored the issue within their own board.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gregory.
Yes.
Were you given one of these sheets? Okay.
I am completely...
No, I'm sorry, Ms. Gregory. Were you given a sheet where it says, requiring individuals who wish to address the board to direct their comments to the entire board and not...
Okay, I'm
and
directing
not
this to the
members of
board. How about that?
audience.
Is that better?
That is better, yes.
Okay,
Thank
let me
you.
tell you this then, okay? I am completely disgusted by the comments that were made by Ms. German against my district. My district. While making these disgusting comments, Ms. Evans was clapping while she made those comments. If they both feel that way about our district, why are they on this board? If you cared about our district, you would be as disgusted by these comments as we are. Why isn't that being addressed? Why is that not being addressed? Because you're more concerned with Dr. Edmondson and your personal agenda. Our district is being destroyed by this board, and we need to join in unity to remove them to save our district for our kids. How many superintendents are this board going to run out? How many lawsuits are we going to have to pay because of the 4 on this board? If the president cared about our community, she would resign.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. Okay, so who is speaking out? No, who's yelling out who does not have the floor? You may not do that.
Tim Sherwood.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Sherwood, and I just want to say that I'm thoroughly disgusted with what's happening in our community. Thoroughly disgusted. And he who is out without fault cast the first stone. Because everybody is to blame. Nobody is unscathed in this whole situation. But instead of wanting to help make things better, we continue to want to make things worse. We continue to want to flush the toilet on our community instead of trying to do something that's better for our community. What I have to say tonight is that I knew all along that Dr. Edmondson would end up being fired or leaving the district one way or another. I knew that was the agenda. That was the plan all along. You want a yes man. A very expensive yes man that gets paid $3,600 a week. This is a board of miseducation. This is a board of misdirection. Let's continue to throw money at a situation that you created. This is without a doubt a witch hunt and a travesty. Nobody is going to want to come to our district. Nobody is going to want to stay here. The board is trying to say they're here for the kids and the community. To pay a superintendent, an acting superintendent, this much money is ridiculous. We're paying lawyers, we're paying acting superintendents, we're paying all this stuff so something that was a golf outing or a couple of things that weren't right or things that happened in 2019 will go away. You're throwing money at something that you created. If you think this is a fair democratic process, you're wrong. You don't listen to reason. You don't listen to the community. You don't listen to students. This is a district that's in turmoil. Dr. Edmondson was one of the best things that happened to this district in a long time. He is a very positive leader and had a clear vision. And members of this board decided to throw it all away. We as a community need to continue to fight for the kids and fight for what is right.
Hi, Mr. Sherwood.
You will be held accountable for your actions.
Mr. Sherwood,
You will be
thank
held
you.
accountable for your actions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brett Sherwood.
What was the name? Oh, Brett.
Good evening. So for those of you who don't know me, I graduated last year, class 2021, as a salutatorian. You know, very proud of that. So, look, I'm just going to be completely cut and dry. So this whole fiasco that took place for the past 2 months is running the district into the ground. From the outside looking in, while I've been at school, I don't know about all the details, but the board is an embarrassment and you bring shame to this community, which really hurts my heart because there's so many amazing members of the staff here that really do care about their students, and it's being overshadowed by this mess. And I'm not talking about all 7 of you either. The divide is very obvious. I'm a proud Wolverine, and I'm literally having the best time of my life, and I have my community to thank for putting me in this position to succeed. But I want to be a proud Eagle, too, when people ask me where I went to high school. I had a great 12 years here, and I want other future generations to be able to experience that. I want to be proud to put the place I came from on the map. But now every time I even mention it, I have to worry about the countless negative news articles over the past 4 or 5 years that have happened. All of you are too stuck in your own bubble to realize from the scope of a student, even I can see that the administration is in ruins. Like, come on. I'm tired of all of our problems getting put into the superintendent when it runs much deeper. No student athletes want to come here, and they all transfer to Belleville, River Rouge, because we lack the ability to develop them properly so they can be scouted and earn a scholarship to top college programs. We have had financial problems within the district for as long as I can remember, but every single time it's the superintendent as a scapegoat. One of the charges against him in the investigation was because of the credit card purchases for gift cards for students that wasn't pre-authorized. I was on the receiving end of one of those gift cards because I worked there in the summer. And if I'm being completely honest, who cares? If it's that big of a deal, write him up, move on. I mean, come on, he's literally helping the students in the community by himself, and we talked on many occasions, and he's personally inspired me to do great things, and he wants to reward students who chose to work during a pandemic. So why are we faulting good man for these mistakes that have been happening for years before him? We have top flight security of the world over here to protect the administration before we even had an adequate amount of security that can protect our students in light of the recent events that happened in Oxford. Do we just not care about the health and safety of our students? Really just think about that for a second and imagine if you were in that position. Now tell me if you're really for the students or if you're trying to save yourselves. I'll leave you with this. The president of the University of Michigan is resigning after the end of next year. I think there are multiple people on this board that need to do the same.
Becky Montroy.
Hi, my name is Becky Montroy. I went to school in Romulus. Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Becky Montroy. I went to school in Romulus, kindergarten through 12th grade. I also am a teacher at Barth Elementary, 24 years, and I love it there. I really wasn't going to speak tonight, but last week, one of the parents said that she wouldn't recommend sending her kids to school here around the schools. How devastating. How absolutely devastating. And that should hit every single one of your hearts. And I know some of you personally, and I'm just shocked that we're here and we're not talking about the children. I just want you to listen to that. How sad. How incredibly sad that we're not here talking about the kids. We all go to work every day, every single day for those kids. Paras, tech department, maintenance, building administrators, paras. I mean, everybody. I don't want to leave anybody out. Bus drivers, custodial staff. We're all there for the kids every single day. I don't care what goes on there. From the time from 8 to 3 or 4 o'clock, I don't care. I tune you out and I do my job. I teach kids to read. I teach kids how to multiply and divide. And I teach them how to be kind human beings every single day. And shame on you. Shame on you. On a different note, and I would like an answer to this question, please. On December 9th, my daughter texted me approximately 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Her building was on lockdown. Imagine getting that text from your daughter. My heart sank. My daughter arrived home safely to me at 6:45, and I am forever grateful to everybody involved bringing her home. The schools, the teachers, the administrators, the police department, the fire department, everybody. Everybody. I mean, they did a phenomenal job. They did what they had to do, and I am forever grateful. But I ask you this, do we have plans for Alice training? No. Do we? I mean, you're the board. I don't know. Do we? Because you're really not going to answer my question? No, I'm being serious.
No,
I'm not joking.
I know you are, and those emails have been sent, and that would be
But
something.
emails are emails.
No, that would,
Do you know Plymouth can't, they're not even starting school until the Alice training begins?
I do know that.
Then, but I don't understand. Like, maybe, am I being punked right now? Like, I don't understand. Like, these are our kids. These are our kids, and I would take a bullet for any one of them, and would anybody in this room would. Are we really still just waiting? Are we waiting? Do you know our doors open? So even if we barricade them, they can still get through? Make no mistake, I'll throw my kids out that window and have them run down to my parents' house on Barth Road. Something's got to be done, and please, somebody. These are our kids, and we need to start putting them first, please.
Darcel Davis.
Good evening. My name is Darcel Davis, and I'm a graduate of the class of 2021 as valedictorian last year. And I don't have a speech prepared today because I'm just so frustrated to see my school district just rot away from the inside out. you're wasting all this money on a bunch of consultants when this problem could have been fixed before, time and again, when people have complained for years and years. You put Dr. Edmondson on leave, paid leave, then you pay another guy to do his job. You have security here and Romulus Police. You don't have security for our kids like this. I know, I was there. Financial investigation over and over. I don't know when it's going to be done. We don't know when the audit will be done. But for me, when I think of investigating things, I think of also interviewing people instead of just looking at documents, because documents can be falsified, they can be fake. Talk to the people, they know they were there. And then the biggest issue I have is this proceed with hearing on termination on the superintendent. Now, I don't really believe you should be terminating anybody in this district, especially when you have enough people resigning on their own. And they're telling you why they're resigning, but you're not fixing the issue. Sitting as a student for forever, through middle school and high school, I've seen that this board's gone through many people, but these problems have still been the same. Nobody's fixed it. So who's going to fix it? I just want to know who's going to fix it. Because I don't want to see in 5 years that the finances are gone, the state took over, and they're going to tear this building down like Inkster. I live across the street. I do not want to see an empty field here. I want this district to succeed. So who's going to fix it? And why hasn't it been fixed before?
Tina Talley.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to say, I'm really grieved. This is a really grievous moment right now. Being a city council, trying to move our city forward. We have a new mayor. And in order for our city to move forward, we have to have a good district, a school district. We're building rooftops in our city. When people want to come to a city, they want a good school district. Are we representing that to our residents that we want to come to the city of Romulus? That's what I want to ask. How are we going to move our city forward and get residents in this city if we don't have a good school district and all we got is chaos? I've tried to not just get emotional about this. This is about our city of Romulus, our school district. We want people to come here. We want people to live here. They want a good school district to bring their kids to. How do we do this when these people are watching what's going on in our district? We got a superintendent. All these problems, Ms. Wester said it. This stuff could have been solved months ago by bringing this man back to do his job. Whatever the personal issue is, we should got past that for the sake of these kids. I know it, and then when Ms. Terrell talked about they brought these accusations, she brought up what what countered it, and no one said nothing about the stuff she countered the information with these charges. No one addressed it when she countered them charges. This is a sorry state of affairs for our city, for our district. We want residents to come here. Y'all want residents to come here? They want a school district that can send their kids to. How are we going to move forward together and tell these people, these residents, to come to our city when our school district is in chaos? We had a superintendent, he got a millage pass. He gave me these gift baskets that he's partnered with Osborne Concrete, Motor City Meats, for gift baskets to give out in our community. I was told that we were losing 150 students a year, which amounts to 1.5 million. We had a net of 14 plus new students, 40 plus. So we went through 150 for decades, losing 150 to a plus 14. That's 1.5 million. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. 1.5 million for over 150 we lost for decades. And then we had a net gain of 14 students. That is a big shift from minus 150 to a 14 net. Now, if I'm wrong, correct me. We need a district so that our residents can put their kids in. We are building rooftops in the city. We need a school district and move forward. We need a superintendent. We can't be on autopilot. We need a superintendent running this district, and we had one, and he was doing his job. And I don't know, I know what we heard, but we need to bring this man back to do his job. Thank you.
Is that it? Next, we have communications from board members. Mr. Bergeron?
Not really, but I will. I hope that you see the sincerity in the people that are coming up here and asking, begging us to make this district the way it was. I don't have anything, you know, to gain by this, just my community. And I love this community. I've been here all my life. I got, whoever said 60 years, I got that beat by Lindermuth by 7 years. Okay, I've been here 71 years in this community. Okay, I love this community. And I don't want to see it destroyed, and I'm seeing it destroyed right now, to be quite honest with you. And we all got to suck it up and do the right thing. Okay, I know there's personalities and stuff like that involved, but we got to get by it. Thank you.
Ms. Terrell?
I'm basically agreeing wholeheartedly with Pete. And it's hard not to get emotional. I've appealed to the fact that we have someone that is capable, if he's allowed, that's capable, if allowed, to move forward. If I had it my way, he would have been back. He wouldn't have never been placed out. And I just think that the way we're proceeding with this, it's wrong. It's wrong. We have to consider what our stakeholders are saying. We have to consider the impact that this is having on our children. We have to consider the individuals that come to work every day to put their best effort forward. And we have to listen. Not always throw up a guard and say, no, this is why I'm doing this. Listen. Listen.
Thank you, Ms. Terrell. Ms. German? Ms. German, do you have any public comment? Board comments? Come back. Ms. Wester?
I agree with what my two colleagues just said. We need to listen to our community, the people that voted us in, our children. We need to do the right thing for our children. Set that stuff aside. Personal got to be put on the back burner. We all got to learn how to agree to disagree, because we're not going to always be on the same page. We're not going to always believe the same thing. But at the end of the day, our children, our community, this is our future here. We've heard from so many of our educators that have been lifelong residents that graduated from here, came back and taught here to give back to their community. Our alumni, these two young men, It's embarrassing. We are the laughing stock of school districts. It's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Over personal vendettas to me. We're looking at 2019, 2020. We didn't even give him a chance to fix it. Well, when he tried to, he got shut down, charges was filed, complaints brought. At the end of the day, we paying all these people. Money is going, just throwing it out the window. Help was asked for to get help in the finance department, and it was declined. We need to listen to our residents here, our educators. I love you guys. You work hard every day. You put our kids and our community first, and that's how it's supposed to be. Our city community, our school community, we're one. Like Ms. Talley said, we got rooftops coming up in here. All these houses being built. The students, these parents are going to take their kids every place else. We need the superintendent back that came in and did a job. He did his job. He did his job. He was hardcore. He's hardcore. He's going to tell you how it is, but he gets the job done. And you don't like people that shoot straight from the hip. We need to think about, this board needs to think about what our constituents are saying, what we need to move this district forward. We got a lawsuit. I brought this up months ago. I brought it up. No one listened to me. It's here now. Unfortunately, it's here. And we could have avoided this. Now we're doing the holiday season and have to deal with this through the holidays. Thank you guys for coming out and supporting. We just have to pray and keep moving forward.
Ms. Evans?
I'm fine. No, thank you.
Ms. German?
No, I don't have anything to say. I agree with Ms. Wester. Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Wester.
Thank you, Ms. German. Vice President Kennard?
I just concur and have listened to all of my board members, and I just want you to know that yes, indeed, we do hear you. I hear you. And believe it or not, I do understand. So I wish all of you the best during the holiday seasons, and we're looking and having to make some serious conditions, some serious decisions, and we would do that accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard. I'm not going to speak tonight. Motion to adjourn. Okay, Ms. Evans, moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Oh, I'm sorry, moved by Piles, supported by Wester to adjourn. We got to take the vote.
9:31. Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
Terrell? Yes. Wester? Yes. Kennard?
Yes.
Piles?
Yes.
German?
Yes.
Evans, yes.
Meeting adjourned at 9:31.